no seats in it. So they used to put on these little yellow sponge beds. So we used to put them at the back of the aircraft and have running races. And because the aircraft is so, it's very light, obviously, because there's not much equipment on it, so it flies high. I'm an aeronautic engineer by trade. You fly closer to the North Pole. So I'll be running down, drinking champagne, and seeing the Aurora Borealis out the window. That's cool. So that was cool. So anyway, for some reason I left that job. I'm not too sure why, but so I got into IT. Got into IT. So I joined a small consultancy in the UK. Worked for many retailers, the big retailers around the world, pharmaceutical companies around the world, and logistic companies. So I've worked in Hong Kong, Singapore, Pakistan, and India, all over Europe, all over the States, working for big companies. I've been very lucky. So it brought me to the United States to work for CoreLogic. Now, does anyone know what CoreLogic does? Good man. That's more than I do.
Analytics or real estate.
Yep. Anything else on top of that? So, CoreLogic owns, well not owns, we've gathered 99.9 or 5% of every bit of data for a residential property. And you might think, okay, well, so what? Really? That's great. And it's just even the granularity of the data we have, let me give you an idea. We have size of hailstones, angle of hailstone, speed of hailstone on the aperture of a roof and what damage it might do. Right? And again, you might think, so what? Well, an insurance company pays out 30% of all its money for roof damage. So whether it's hedging money in terms of reserves, which obviously costs company money, or for fraud or whatever, that's the sort of detail that we get to, which is pretty amazing. The other way, my wife's not here, but my two kids are here, by the way, so please be kind to me, Nina and Rosie. No. That's my father-in-law. That'd be weird. I've lost my track now. What was I saying?
Something about CoreLogic.
Something about CoreLogic, yes. So with all this data, all this property data, so we support the real estate, the mortgage, and the insurance industries. And like I try and explain to my wife what I do. She doesn't quite understand. She's a dentist. And basically, the easiest way to say it is basically we support the $1.9 trillion business in the US for mortgage. So if you ever bought a house or rented a house, without you knowing, you've actually probably touched CoreLogic. So whether it's Wells, Chase, Quicken Loans, any rental group, any insurance group, it takes information from us. So whether it's information about the property, tax, hazard information in terms of sinkholes, hailstorms, earthquakes, we have models. There's a group which is quite a morbid group, really, because they have a thing called the Black Swan. The Black Swan is when there's a major catastrophe in America, and actually what happens to the infrastructure. But insurance companies need to understand what will happen. They also need to understand how they will operationalize and actually recover from the situation. I don't mean financially, I mean people. So it's pretty far-reaching what we do. Anyway, now I've got a deck, but I never like going through slides because I always tend to fall asleep as well. So I will talk. I might refer to one or two slides, but please just give me a shout if things aren't making sense. So CoreLogic. Let me touch on a little bit about enterprises. How many of you worked in a big company? What sort of companies have you worked in?
Aerospace.
Okay.
Yep.
Before?
Northrop Grumman. Never worked for Boeing.
Ah, right. Okay. That's cool.
Hughes, Raytheon.
Ah, yeah. Whereabouts is that based?
El Segundo.
Fantastic. Where else have you guys worked?
I used to work at a City National Bank, so regional bank here in California,
Yep.
about 30 billion in assets. Just recently acquired by Royal Bank of Canada, so kind of a big organization.
Wow. Yeah, no, definitely. Anywhere else? Yes.
I work for property management, so it's a company called FPA Management that covers a lot of properties in manages a lot of properties, multifamily properties.
Multifamily, yeah, in the rental market, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, okay. How many units do they have? Do you know?
So they keep acquiring more, so they just keep expanding, mostly tax credit things.
Yeah.
throughout California.
So single family is the biggest growing sector right now in the US. Rental of single family homes. Multifamily is a massive, massive uptake. So, CoreLogic. We grew by acquisition. So we've bought about 60 companies in the last 10 years. Right, now I think, okay, again, so what? So when you do that, CoreLogic, and I've worked in lots of big banks and pharmaceutical companies around the world, and CoreLogic has every piece of technology known to mankind. I've come across software that I've never even seen, as like the actual underlying software language and operating system, bespoke, proprietary. It's quite amazing. So it causes, it's good because we've gathered lots of good systems, lots of good IP, and lots of good data. But it's, frankly, it's kind of all over the place, right? And we can't leverage it. So for CoreLogic, what we want to do is use a lot of cloud computing technologies and big data technologies to basically provide our clients biggest solution width. And so what does that really mean? So today, we've got about 500 products, which is quite amazing for the size of the company that we are. We're about 2 billion. So we're not massive, but we're growing. That's across about 300 platforms. So when you go into these big enterprises, you'd be amazed by the amount of systems we have. And some of it looks like it's cobbled together. So if you're not used to it, this sort of stuff, some of it's pretty eye-opening. If you work in big banks, I worked in big banks, we would release software once a quarter, once every year maybe, and you have to line up the stars. What do I mean? You're making changes to about 200 systems in one go, which has impacts on people, process, and what the company's doing in the first place. So just to give you an idea, I did something called a core bank replacement for a major bank in the world. I'm basically ripping out the heart, putting a brand new one in. That took 3 years. It took $750 million to do, because we changed everything. We changed it from a mortgage and savings company into a retail bank. But my goodness, did we have to line up the stars. Unfortunately, we had a few problems once or twice. These things do happen in big companies. I was on the news having to talk about why we double debited 55 million. That's a day I won't forget in a hurry.
Are you going to tell us?
I've got a Ferrari outside. And the reason I say that is that if you're familiar with startups or building out your software yourself, there is a difference when you get in amongst a group where you've got 5,000 people who are engineers, testers, data scientists, whatever. That's hard to coordinate, hard to keep the vision. But things are changing, which is great. So I'll just jump forward a little bit. Right now with CoreLogic, so we created CoreLogic Labs with this company called Pivotal. I know I'm jumping forward a little bit. We release software to the marketplace every day. So if you think about your Amazons and Netflix of the world, they release, and I still can't quite get my head around this, they release software to the marketplace between 5 and 23,000 times a day. Right? And it's just like, I don't quite understand that. But even if that was 50% wrong, right, exaggerated, still, that's impressive, right? And they've done it by driving automation, software for software. When I say stuff like test-driven development, continuous integration, continuous development, and all this sort of stuff, does that mean anything to you guys, or am I talking just jargon? So when you bring that in, it really does move the needle for companies. So for CoreLogic now, we can release software every day to the marketplace. We don't have to. Some markets dictate a certain rhythm. Lenders don't really want software every day coming into their processes, but they're actually getting a little bit more flexible, and it's 10 times better than releasing once a year or once every half year. So let me just refer to a slide. Let me just go through this. second. I just want to show one slide. Yeah. So at CoreLogic, we've got about 300 platforms. Sorry, yeah.
Sorry, when you say software, are you talking about all the database, everything that you have, release it to those guys, or
Ask the question again.
when you're talking about you're releasing software?
Yep.
Does this mean that you're compiled information about the people, the process, whatever, to the company?
When I say release software, so I mean, we've got a software, I'll give you an example, a software product that analyzes and monitors fraud on loans for a mortgage. We can, from an idea in someone's head, we can get that through into production or into our clients' hands, into users, within the space of a day. So I've been working in the IT industry for nearly 25 years now. I've never seen anything like that. To be able to do that, because you've got to take that piece of code and think about just the life cycle it goes through as an idea, write it down, break it into a test case, write the software, test it in all the environments, have to go through a change board because everything's got to be monitored and compliant and secure before it goes into production. That would take a company weeks, months. And now we can do it in a day. So that's pretty remarkable. Did that answer your question, or? Cool. So CoreLogic is so we've got 300 platforms, provide lots of products to our clients, which is good. We make a fair bit of money, pretty good EBITDA, but we don't help them. We don't help our clients in terms of wider solutions that actually really support their process. And an easy way we provide. Imagine a loan origination. What's the average day? What's the average time to originate a loan or buy a loan? Who owns a house here? What did you think of the loan origination process with your bank, or was it okay? Or?
I'm married, my wife
Nice. Man, that's genius. That is genius. That is genius. But I mean, on average, it takes about 45 days.
Oh, it's a horrible.
Right? It's fragmented, hard. Just if you haven't bought a house, just strap in and try and be patient, right?
45 days would have been wonderful.
Well,
Right, exactly. That's
Yeah,
average. Right?
6 months or something.
Yep.
10 years ago was a completely different thing than doing it now.
Correct. So it's 45 days. If you imagine like a unit cost of what it does, it costs about $7,200 to do a mortgage, just the process itself, which is a bit crazy. We want to revolutionize that and provide automation throughout that process. So take one bit. I'll take one bit of it, right? So an appraiser. Appraiser comes around your house, does an inspection, all good, gives you a value against comparables around the area, checks for does a quick house inspection, gives a value. That takes, on average, anywhere between 10 and 14 days. That sounds crazy again, right? What if we just used satellite imagery, property condition imagery, used machine learning on it, and got all the information ourselves? It's not quite there yet, but that's what we're driving towards, right?
It's kind of like what Zillow's.
It,
Similar. I mean,
Yes, Zillow's a cool company. Zillow's a cool company because Zillow and Trulia, so they join forces. They actually regard themselves as a marketing company rather than a property company, which is pretty smart because the marketing industry around property is $100 billion. Think about, I'm just thinking the basic stuff of lenders, but then you think about all your appliances. Any maintenance work on the house for construction or maintenance or front yard or whatever, that referral business or that marketing business is $100 billion. So they're I know the owner there, smart company. And just I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but real estate agents. Well, why do we need them?
Sure you heard of them.
Well, so here's it's kind of a bit of a catch-22 for CoreLogic. They actually, the real estate business and the MLS business, the multiple listing services, and there's about 800 multiple listing services around the US. They actually provide us 20% of our revenue. So it's kind of a, you're kind of like, well, hang on a second. Do we actually want to make them better and empower them? So we actually built an app called Go MLS. And this is, imagine I'm a realtor, you're buying a house. I'll send you a link. You just click the link. It actually pulls up, whether it's Android, iOS, whatever, pulls up an app into your phone. And you have a one-to-one configured experience with your realtor about buying a home, preferences. And, it's like Zillow on steroids, if you like, because we've got a huge amount of data. We provide flood zone information, flood reports, natural hazard reports, and all that sort of stuff. So that's where it's actually quite an interesting challenge where you actually try and make the realtor even better. How did I get onto that again? I was talking about Zillow. That was it.
Zillow pulls up all the comps, and you're talking about approximate value based on.
Yeah. So, and do you know much about comps, comparables? It's interesting. It's quite. I've been in. What's that, sir?
It's a racket.
It's interesting, right?
It's subjective to a point.
It's a model. It's a model, and it's interesting. So here's where the fight is, right? So obviously, CoreLogic, we've got huge amounts of data. Our model information is also coming from not just a sale price of around the area. We're using appraisal information because that has internal property conditions, which is a big factor on your value of your property.
I was going to ask, how do you get condition inside of the house?
Yep. So we own 2 appraisal management companies.
Okay.
So we actually have a huge amount of data on the actual appraisal, which is about probably the best value you'll get on your house. Now, we have all the comparables and the rest of the data. We have data scientists who are far brighter than I am, and they'll do the models. But it's an amazing world out there on how you value a house. And it's you'll see data scientists really having pretty passionate debates about how you do it and what characteristics you use and so forth. So, CoreLogic, we want to provide better solutions for our clients. So we're about 2 billion revenue, about 3.3 billion market cap. We should be double the revenue and quadruple the market cap. We're sitting on an absolute gold mine. So we want to provide better solutions to our clients. We've got lots of systems. We've got about 300 big platforms, every single technology, and we've got about 2,000 databases in all types of technologies. So it's quite hard to leverage, right? So we've gone through a big transformation, right? We've now got a CIO who's my boss. Kind of went down from 2,000 staff in IT to about 1,300 because we had 75 offices around the US, Australia, New Zealand, UK. We outsourced our data centers. Has anyone ever outsourced a data center? We've moved all their stuff, moved all their equipment, moved all their systems that actually support the $1.9 trillion business, which is the mortgage industry. So I had a few sleepless nights over that for 2 years. That was hard. You ever do a data center move? It's good for the old, on the resume, but it's hard. A data center move is hard. But really, we did all that really to get capital, get money to pump in towards our new stuff. Now, CoreLogic is a young company. We recognized we didn't have all what it takes to take advantage of cloud computing and all this sort of stuff. So we partnered with this company called Pivotal. So do you know much about Pivotal? No. So Pivotal, and this isn't in the slides, by the way, but I'll just talk. Pivotal is owned by VMware, EMC. Those 2 companies have just been bought by Dell, in the biggest IT transaction ever. Pivotal does, actually I should say, so GE also pumped in 100 million, Microsoft and Ford pumped in $250 million to Pivotal. So Pivotal do three things. Provide two technologies. One is something called a platform as a service called Cloud Foundry. Their product's called Cloud Foundry. Does anyone know what a platform as a service does? You think I'm just talking absolute baloney? Or have a guess what a platform as a service does? Anyone have an idea? So platform as a service, Google has one, Amazon has one, Pivotal has one, IBM. So these things do a number of things. One, this is probably more on the dull side if you're a CIO. There'll be a big war coming up. Big war on Amazon, Google, and Microsoft on running your infrastructure. It's already happening. Google's now 30% cheaper than Amazon. Amazon's got broader breadth, but it's coming. We want to be able to move to those infrastructures in a day, all our stuff. It took us 2 years to move all our systems, servers, storage, data to a new data center. That's what it normally takes, about a year or 2 years for a company. Now you can move in days. You push a button, off it goes. Right? So if you're a CIO, you're thinking, hang on a sec, I'm paying 30 million, and I'm going to take potentially up to 25% off that number. You kind of think about it, right? You're like, maybe I should move to Google. Maybe I should move to Amazon. Now there's some security, some security challenges with that. That's more about perception because you're not actually owning the physical service. But Amazon and Google spend more on security than any other company in the world. Amazon's more secure than anyone, to be honest. These platforms also look after themselves, this platform as a service. So I've been looking after systems for years. Used to work in IT operations a lot. I'd be sometimes get that dreaded phone call about 3 o'clock in the morning. Some batch job has failed. I can give you one example. In Australia, working for the commercial part of the bank, so doing all the payroll for companies like Shell, BHP. They're saying our gateway into this bank is not working. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, I think it was going to process about, I can't remember, $1.4 billion worth of stuff coming in. You get that phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning and it's not working. That's where your kind of heart gets going, right? He's like, wow. And you're phoning. I mean, we had, incident management, all that sort of stuff, but you kind of earn your stripes. The reason I'm saying that is because those kind of systems, like an analogy that one of my lead engineers would tell me, it's like, the systems in these companies are like our pets. So we care and feed for them. If they're sick, we're up all night with them. And sometimes it's a bit hard, right? With these things like platform as a service, and you build your apps on top of it, and this sounds a bit crude, it's like cattle. If there's something wrong, the platform takes it out, just shoots it, brings up another one. Now, I sound like I'm just like making a story up, right? We've seen it in action. When we first deployed out this platform with some products for our clients, we had one particular product which had a very insidious bug right deep in the JVM, way down. It was causing problems, but the platform would just come along, shoot it, bring it down, bring up the infrastructure, configure code, up run, like instantaneously. Clients didn't even know, didn't see any impact. We're now a little bit more au fait with this sort of stuff, so we monitor it correctly. But that's pretty amazing. These things are elastic compute. So I can give you an example. We just provisioned some servers within our own data centers. Start to finish, that took 5 months just to provision kit, servers, physical infrastructure. Partly our fault because how we're going to finance it and all that sort of stuff. So just say if I took that bit out, it would take 3 months. In Amazon, it can take what? About an hour. Similar infrastructure, all configured code, no one's touching it. It's pretty amazing. The third and last thing, are you still with me, by the way? Good. This platform as a service, and this isn't just Cloud Foundry. This is Pivotal's product called Cloud Foundry. IBM, Google, Red Hat, Oracle, IBM, they all have these types of platforms as a service. The thing is that the last bit is if you combine it with the methods, procedures, the culture that we learned through Pivotal Labs, you you get to a point you release software every day into the marketplace. Now, for guys who've never done software engineering in a big enterprise company, you might think that's a bit, okay, so it's, great, so what, I do that today. For big enterprises, that's a massive, massive change. Sometimes you'll be on these big projects. I mean, imagine being on a project for 3 years, right? You're thinking, what the? I mean, we did change your bank right enough, but I mean, that's a long time to wait. And I'll be much more clear. That was to get out you guys call it checking accounts, don't you? A checking account to actually offer that product out into the UK, into leading bank. That was very, very successful, but it took us 3 years to get there. Do you guys pair program? Do you paired programming? Paired.
Sometimes.
Pair program.
As exercise.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Sorry. We have done that. Sorry, yeah. I was like, wow. No, I was thinking I might need an interpreter for myself. I was like, no. Did you do paired programming here?
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
It depends on where you're.
Yeah. It has to be a good match. It has to be a good match, yeah.
Well, because in class, and we've got different levels of expertise. Like I've been an engineer and software developer for years.
Yeah.
And some people are coming in from just design, and they have no technical background, so it's that's the balance issue. But when you get with somebody who you can communicate with, like Joe and I have worked together, it works really well.
Interesting.
So it's more of just finding the right person, and in an academic environment, it's been a little challenging.
Okay.
But when it works really well.
Interesting. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Jeff and I, because we sit next to each other, we often we're just assigned together.
Yep.
So it works pretty well because we're kind of thinking the same way. We have the same personality, and ambitions or whatever. So it's like.
I have a slightly different perspective.
Yeah.
I think it's great when people complement each other, so you can fill in where the other person is maybe not as experienced or as knowledgeable, and then the sum is greater.
Yep.
For the parts.
Yep. So, and I want to carry on this conversation. Right? So, lots of big companies, whatever sector, there's too many times software engineers are in a space where they have a massive requirements document about this thick, a massive specification about this thick. They're put in a cubicle in a dark room, and off they work. I'm being slightly over, but I've seen it again and again and again and again and again. Right? There's lots of problems to that, not just for the human, but it's not good in many ways. It's not good to scale out skill, not good to way to build out product, get tight feedback loops from your clients. It's just long, dull, and hard. That's probably the easiest way to say it. In CoreLogic, we're quite a we're a financial company, tend to be risk averse. We had those cubicles. You've got engineers on teleconferences for about 6 hours of the day, got 3 screens, they're looking at some spec, looking at NFL, looking at some coding, if we ever give them half a chance to do it. That's on top of the 3 million emails that come in every day, right? It's quite, and I don't know if your experience is, it's ridiculous sometimes, right? I mean, I get about, I don't know, somewhere between 50 and 100 emails an hour, right? I don't read them. I do read 1 or 2 from my boss, I do. I pick up the phone or talk to people, right? What Pivotal taught CoreLogic? So we did some pilot projects up in San Francisco, up in the headquarters with Pivotal. And this Pivotal Labs experience is really, do you know the Pivotal Labs experience for software engineers? So let me just give you a run through the day and you just fire questions at me, right? So everyone comes in between 8:30 and 9 for breakfast. Why do we breakfast? One part of it. What's that, sorry?
It's the most important meal of the day.
It is. That's what my mom told me as well, yeah. Any other reasons?
It gets the team all together and started.
So there's a pragmatic reason, is that if you pair, and we pair software engineers, we pair designers, we pair product managers, if your buddy's not in, it's actually quite hard to pair them, right? The second part is, actually, can you hear me at the back? Sorry, I forgot to check.
Yeah. Yes.
We're all good, good. To tell, because I tend to start off loud and then go down. The other thing is, you bond well over food. So if I took you into the Santa Monica office right now, there's 100 people there from CoreLogic, Pivotal, Disney, Farmers, NBC, a couple of startups. You wouldn't tell who's who. That's a good thing. And they're all very close. I mean, just a tight community. And it's really good. Real passion for engineering and technology. Real strong passion. It's amazing. And the third thing is sugar level. If you think of the physiology of it all, and I laughed when I was first told this. I was a partner with IBM before I did this job. So I was there in my suit and tie looking at what is this nonsense. And it's not. It's really quite amazing what happens. So they're all had their food together, like big benches, 100 people. Then we have a big stand-up, say hello to anyone new. Again, you might think, like, okay, that's just a bit gimmicky or something. I could take you into any office around the world, pick one guy here, a guy 10 feet away, and say, do you know each other's names? I'll bet you 70% of the time they don't. Right? That sounds, it's not a sickening feeling, but it's a bit sad really, isn't it? But that's just like, we just put them in cubicles and just, we don't give them half a chance, and they're on teleconferences with all around the world, all that sort of stuff. So we have this big stand-up, say hello to anyone new. Any challenges any teams having? Any events? Any events could be from the tech talks we run, mobility stuff, DevOps, all the technologies around the world, Google come in and present, whatever it might be, to yoga, volleyball, whiskey tasting, which is my one. It's all good. What sort of whiskey do you like?
Oh, well, I like
Do you? I'll send you an invite next time. And then we get to work. You all go into their teams. They're all co-located. Talk about what they're doing today, what they did yesterday, any blockers. And then they work, all pairs. What do you not do when you pair? What do you not do when you pair? Well, yeah. I hate this is where the manager bit comes out, which is terrible. So I do forgive me. But yeah, you don't slack off. Our guys, right? Some of the engineers in CoreLogic are seriously like, well, you're very good engineers, and they're tired in the first 4-6 weeks. And why is that? It's because you're coding all the time. And again, it wasn't just for CoreLogic. This is anywhere around the world. You're in meetings, on a telephone call, I'm going to do 5 emails, I'm going to check NFL, I'll go back to a meeting, why is this meeting here, it's really dull, doesn't have an objective. If you're ever in a meeting like that, cut it down, say stop, it's a waste of time. That's a different part of it there. But it's interesting, our engineers are pretty tired at the end of the day because they're using their brain for 8-9 hours. I mean, full on. And when you're pairing, it's good. Now, I know what you said about levels. Interesting, right. So let me give you a different perspective. I've run lots of big IT organizations, multi-billion-dollar companies, and lo and behold, there's always, you guys called John Doe, isn't it? Is the common name, right? There's always John Doe that if he got knocked over, we'd be in trouble, right? So pair programming does an amazing thing. It spreads knowledge. It also brings up skills and talent. So I know if you're super experienced and you've got a junior guy beside you, you might think, oh, come on, what's going on here? You'd be amazed what happens. I mean, I've been doing this for 2 years now. Like, I've got 40 engineers out in Santa Monica who are very good because they rotate every day, by the way. Have a new partner every day. We rotate through projects every week. So you got 40 guys that understand. I don't mean just like part of the stack. I mean front end all the way down to the big data solutions, like full stack. Once or twice we might have to get an expert into a certain area. I mean, I get that. I mean, it's hard to be an expert on a full stack of technology. So from my perspective, I'm thinking, great, so I'm bringing up all these guys. The top guys, or if you might imagine more the senior guys, actually go through a change themselves. Because they realize actually they're mentoring a lot of people. Rather than being, I'm just the expert, I'm the only expert, and lo and behold, I don't know, just a lot of guys some of these guys were pretty, what's the word? Gnarled, I guess. You know, they've been around 30 years, seen their stuff. But they also, just to be really clear, they also learn stuff from the grads that we've recruited. It happens, right? We can't know everything. It's just amazing what happens. Yes?
I just want to clarify my statement, is that with our environment, there are a number of people, students who this is completely new.
Yeah,
so
I
it's
get
a
it,
learning aspect of it.
Yes.
But I work in Technicolor, and I'm a backend developer there, and I work with other people who are been there many years and have different levels, but we have a core understanding of the process. They may be really great in I/O and other pieces, and I learn from them, and they learn from me. So I understand that. But when in the education,
I get it. Yeah, no, I get it. I just wanted to relate it into a company that it's really good. So I mean, these 40 guys are good. We've actually just opened up in Sydney, Austin, about to open up in Dallas next year. The same model. So we want about 150, 200 people building software this way. So they basically code from sort of like 9:15 to 12:30. We all stop for lunch. Come back at 1:30. All finish at 6 religiously. How many software engineers? Actually, how many software engineers in the room? How often? That's good. That's good. Am I in the right class here? So, no, yeah, exactly. So you know, historically, our engineers, you know, we'd be up all night, working till midnight, all this sort of stuff, and it's okay once or twice. And this is my personal view, but that's not sustainable over years, and it's not sustainable in a big company, in a big organization. And it's okay in a startup. If you're in a startup, go for it. It's a whirlwind, but it's great fun, but it's different, right? It's just not sustainable. This took me a while to learn, right? Because I'll come back from my background at IBM, and we'd be running every night till midnight and all this sort of stuff. And everyone's walking out of the office at 6, and I'm like, whoa.
The day's just starting, right?
Right. But John, think about it. Think about the productivity these guys have done. And you kind of start thinking, and it's a bit like a factory, right? These guys are pumping out great code. And remember, the first thing actually, just to give you an idea, you've got a product manager, writes a very granular story. Engineers pull down that story with the story or the feature, if you like. With the feature, there's a persona. It will say a loan officer, typically age 35, these are their pain points, this is the value that we want to bring to them, blah, 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 blah. Here's the workflow behind it, here's the UX designer behind it. The first thing they do you know what the first thing they do as a software engineer? They write the test script. Now, most engineers are going, I don't want to write a test script. But that is the goal. You write the test script first. You then pair together, and obviously you're learning off each other. One's driving, one's not, and depending on how the two, there's different rhythm. They write code to break the test script. They then improve the test script. And they complete the code. And do you know what they do? What happens when you write code when you've already written a test script? Do you know what happens? You write very, very lean code. It's really, these are things I've just learned, by the way. I mean, over the last few years, it's like, that's interesting. As engineers, we tend to sometimes kind of wonder a wee bit, not wonder, but we kind of elaborate or whatever it might be. We write very, very lean code, easy to support. We write the code, and then we deploy it out. That's all automated. It will hit about 5 or 6 test environments, about, depending on the application, somewhere between 10 and 20,000 test scripts, and that will run in about 10 minutes. What I've just said there, I could go into a big bank right now and run that same process, and it would take me 3 months. I've got 0 QA people, testers, 0. All of it. We've got these big screens. It goes red and green. If it goes red, it means you've broken something else in the software. So quickly fix it, off it goes.
It's all the testing software, is it built in-house or is it all third-party?
All third party. JUnit, Jasmine, Canabara, there's loads of them. Yeah. And we just, there's Selenium for performance testing. We do automated security testing. I mean, just actually, there's the thing. The security testing, right? This might sound like I'm now giving a lecture. So your non-functionals, do you understand non-functional requirements if I say that term? That means like performance, availability, security. They are so important. Let me tell you, if you've got a security problem on your product, you wouldn't believe sometimes the drama that might come out. Think about MPPI data, which is personal data about you and I. If you screw that up, it's not good. So I've just been, the reason I say that is because as engineers or as product managers, we tend to think of the functions, the features that we want to use. I've been in situations where in a different company, they had released all the passwords and logons for a system. What tends to happen in some of these companies is that password and logon is not only used for the system, it's used for their network because they're too lazy. And they use the same stuff. And it's out there. I could search for it on Google. So it's very important. Not too sure why I went onto security then. But well, what was I talking about there? I was talking about pair programming, test-driven development. Yep, sorry, I was doing the story. Yep. So you write the test case, do the lean code, deploy out, runs in 10 to 15 minutes. What do I do in that 10 to 15 minute break? I've got me and my buddy. What do I do in that 15 minutes break? Sometimes. We actually play ping pong. Why do we play ping pong? Well, because you can, you're right, because we've got tables there. I like to do a very factual place to clear the mind. It uses a different part of the brain. And when you're coding 8 hours a day, and then you might be thinking, oh, John, you're talking nonsense. It's easy to code for 8 hours a day. Please come up. It is, I mean, you'll get used to it, but it just takes a while to get through that. And I see it. I can practically time it between 4 and 6 weeks. If somebody else got that, yep, get it. And off these guys go. But anyway, we play table tennis to do that natural break. You don't have to play tennis. There's other games, but table tennis is really good because it's using motor skills, different part of the brain, refreshes your thinking part of the brain. You're back on. It's quite amazing because I take clients around there and it looks like we're all in flip-flops, shorts. It looks quite relaxed and all that sort of stuff, but it's the most rigorous. I remember I worked for IBM. These guys are contract, big guys, very rigorous. But this is one of the most rigorous automated processes I've ever seen. It's pretty amazing. Any thoughts or questions so far? Yes, sorry, ladies first, sorry.
Do you employ agile?
So that basic what we're doing is agile on steroids. So actually, I mean, if you want a philosophical debate about waterfall and agile, and you hear about these scrum teams, and you can deploy every 2 weeks or 4 weeks and all that sort of stuff. That's not that agile, really, right? If you really kind of get down to brass tacks, if you're a CEO or a CFO, I want to respond days, not months, weeks, and all that sort of stuff. The technology is there that we can turn things around pretty fast now. I mean, if it's a brand new project, it's not going to be there tomorrow. I mean, if you have the basics of the product already there, you just, and it's good because what's the other good thing about releasing software every day? What's the other good? There's 2 good things.
Feedback from customers?
Exactly. I mean, the consulting term would be, it's a tight feedback loop. typically in company, the feedback loop was about 6 months to a year. Actually, here's the thing. Insurance companies, auto insurance. How long does it take to change a price of a policy, like of a product? It takes 9 months typically. Well, just analyze and just the process of getting it through the different departments and update the systems, and that's not moving very fast, right? You're thinking, if you're the CFO and hang on, I want to make a price adjustment, that's going to take me 9 months to do it. So I'm now going to be thinking 18 months, 3 years down the track all the time. That's just hard. Cool logic. So we do models, and sometimes it will take us 6, 9 months, 12 months to get it out there. You're like, that's terrible. And it's not due to the model's done, right? It's just the mechanics of getting it through the system of a company. It's quite, whether it's banks, retail companies, pharmaceuticals, it all happens, right? Did I answer your question? What's your question? Agile. Yes, I didn't realize it. So yes, it is agile, but it's agile on steroids. You literally take a story and get it, a function, and get it into production that day. Sorry, did you have a question?
Well, I just wanted to say first that any Scrum is better than waterfall. So
Right. No, yeah. No, true. Sorry.
Yeah.
Correct.
But
Correct.
so my
Sorry.
question was, you said that engineers switch.
Yep.
So do you mean switch tasks or from like assignments or projects? Or?
So a typical team will be a product manager, 2 designers, 3 or 4 pairs of engineers. And those engineers would rotate every single day. So just say you and I were working today, we would complete 1 or 2 stories. A typical story would take about somewhere between 2 and 4 hours to complete. So it's very granular. And then we rotate the next day, and I'm with the gentleman beside you. And you're with someone else. I mean, still the same team. We only have 2 meetings a week. One is something called a planning session, an IPM, a planning session. The other one is something called a retro. We just draw on a board what's working well, what isn't working so well. And we all write up stuff and then vote for what we want to talk about.
So daily Scrum is the breakfast, right?
Yeah. And I've presented this lots of times, and I know all I would say is it's actually hard to sometimes imagine without actually really seeing it and feeling it. And even in a few weeks, like, okay, I get this stuff. It's like my engineers would say, John, do you know we're writing test scripts? I'm like, yep, that's right. Because that does 2 things. One, the engineer takes more responsibility for the code he's going to build, and because when it's in production having problems, And then the test part, as you build up that test suite that's automated. I mean, remember this test suite. I mean, do you understand the QA lifecycle? You have unit tests, system tests, systems integration test, end-to-end test, UAT, pre-prod, that's sometimes called staging, and then get into the marketplace. So typically a company would have environment engineers, configuration engineers, QA resources, managers of all that group. I've run QA organizations of 300 people, 300 testers. It's crazy. It's a pretty powerful experience, and I think what I really like about it is sometimes in companies we do a good job of taking out the passion and technology for our engineers, and this is providing a lot more ownership. So our engineers meet our clients. That might sound right. So before we build the product, we do something called discovery framework. But it's a fancy term, but don't forget about the term. It's about actually gathering feedback from your clients and synthesizing it on what the value prop is. It's actually about observing what people do. You know how this thing where you say about we're going to go out and get requirements? People sometimes tell you what they think you want to hear. So what we actually do is a lot of observation. You'll be amazed what people do.
You like to sit with them and look at the processes and stuff.
You look at the processes, and what you sketch out the process, or you draw out the process diagram, your as is, and you draw the to be. But the most powerful thing is you then go and physically watch what loan officers do. You actually follow an appraiser around for quite a few days. Because, I mean, if someone watched me, what I do on the computer, it would be ridiculous. I'm probably just reading some news article, do an email, read a document. I'm probably all over the place. Probably need help. How do we do for time? We've got 5 minutes. I don't know if, is there a question?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
What stack are you guys using on that mostly?
So primarily Spring Framework. I mean, usual front stuff, front end stuff. Primarily Java, so Spring Framework. Getting much more into the big data suite now, so we're using HDFS, which is Hadoop basically, Gen5, Greenplum. These are all the database technologies. Use a bit of TIBCO, if you know what TIBCO is. So a lot of a combination of software that we buy and software that we obviously build. So it's a combination of the two. So we're also working with a lot of third parties. Looking at a company called Graphic right now, up in Santa Barbara. They're doing some pretty amazing stuff. Knowledge graphic companies, natural language companies. Who's got an Echo?
Yeah.
Amazon Echo. They're pretty cool, right? Yeah. So what we're working on right now is that you can talk to Echo, say, hey, Alexa, tell me the value of my house. Hey, Alexa, tell me the value of the house I need to sell it at with a 90% chance that I can sell it in 3 months' time. Give me the top 3 realtors in this place. That's pretty powerful. Right? So that's what we're beginning to get into. There's also Internet of Things. Do you know what the Internet of Things is?
Yeah.
So someone tell me actually.
All your devices are connected. You can tell if your eggs in your refrigerator are bad.
That'd be cool, right?
Maybe next year refrigerator.
There's always a bad night after a bad egg, right? So Internet of Things, so for CoreLogic, I mean, we're not there yet, but we're kind of getting ourselves ready, right? I mean, the world's our oyster, right? You get little devices that go in your roof, checks the humidity. That's a strong indicator of when your roof next needs maintenance, the humidity, you can actually work it out. You know, the stuff with boilers, and imagine you could talk to Alexa and say, when is my boiler next due for maintenance? It's just, I mean, it's coming. By the way, it is coming. This isn't like, I mean, we're doing stuff. I've seen other people do stuff. It's coming.
Like OnStar does that for your car.
Yes, exactly.
Termites, right?
Termites, yeah. I wonder what the device is to actually know that there's termites. I was thinking about that.
It's a vibrometer, right? You have to figure out what frequency the termites are eating at, right? Once you get that frequency, you know you're chowing down on your house.
Wow. We should maybe start. Right? Let's go, right?
CoreLogic will be implementing it within the next 3 months.
Next one.
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
We'll have it implemented tomorrow.
You got your rabbits. You got your rabbits.
I'm glad I came. But, cool. I know we've got just 2 or 3 minutes left. So, sorry, any questions?
I was going to say,
What's
what's the typical profile of your engineers, experience-wise and such?
everything. And that's passionate about that. I've got guys who are 55. I've got guys who are brand new. Really good mix. I've got I work. I mean, I know this is a boot camp. I've worked with Galvanize and GA, General Assembly, because it's also good to have. It's good to have computer scientists. It's good to have guys who have engineering master degrees, and it's good to have people who have music degrees, musicians, and languages. They tend to be really good software engineers. This is all about patterns. We've got a philosopher. She's fantastic. As an engineer. And to think about it, it's a close-knit team, right? And this is a terrible generalization, and apologies, but if you're talking about the characteristics of a software engineer, there's a certain type, right? There's a certain, just generally you would describe it. It's good in a team to have different perspectives. I've got guys who come from a digital marketing background, a philosophy background. They're very good engineers and UX designers, and it's just, I get quite into it about how teams work, team dynamics. Just done a lot on it. So it's just good to have differences. If you're all the same type, you have lots of blind spots. You just naturally do. It's not nothing. It's not a bad thing. It's just, I have blind spots.
So what do you look for when you
Yeah, good question. What do you think I look for?
You tell me.
We look for two things. Logical capability. We're not looking for specific languages, by the way. I do care. I was going to say I don't care, but it's more about logical aptitude, because you can learn the language, right? And the other big thing is empathy. And why? Because you're going to pair all day. So if you can't give and take feedback, if you have inhibition towards that, then it might be tough. And by the way, most people, I go around all the US. I go around all the US, New Zealand, Australia, UK, where we're based. We've got 1,300 IT staff in CoreLogic around the world. Groups like this, and I'll talk about pair programming, and they go, no way would I do that. That's crazy, John. That's double the price, surely. That's, productivity would go full through the roof. And it's all the reverse of that. All the reverse of that. And then there's all the soft benefits of you skill up the whole organization. You bring a passion much more into technology and engineering. You don't have any key man risk, which is just a polite term for saying there's only one guy in the corner who understands how the payroll works. Have any of you read, what's the book called? I'm not a big book reader, but the Phoenix Project. Okay. The Phoenix Project is hysterical. It's a mirror onto how companies work. It's about a month in the life of the CIO, and his world just falls apart. It's about payroll going pear-shaped, big projects going pear-shaped. But it really is, underneath it's all about where technology is going and how you need to think about it, how you get better product out into the market, and how you can release software and automate things, and how to spot bottlenecks and all this sort of stuff. But if you want to have a bit of a glimpse into how a big company works, the Phoenix Project. And it's funny. I've been in a lot of situations, so that's why it makes me smile. Cool. Sorry, was there a question back there? Sorry.
So my question was actually about your growth strategy. I was surprised to hear that you've done 60 acquisitions so far. The old adage is that mergers and acquisitions typically don't go very well. So my question is, are you typically doing like acqui-hires? Are you buying unique IP? Are you buying companies because of revenue or EBITDA accretive? Like what is your principle?
All the above. All the above. We want to be the market leader in anything property related. So we have recently bought 2 appraisal management companies. So that's physical people, process, and systems. But we've also bought just data. We've also just bought systems, like a technology company. Depends on what we're looking for and what we need. We need to do a lot better in organic growth rather than inorganic. So if Wall Street was here, they'd be saying, you guys are doing a good job. You've gone from $7 in 2010, you're now around about the 40 mark. We think you should be around about 65. How are you going to get there? And this is what, I know, sorry I didn't go through any slides here, but this is what we're doing. This is about disrupting industries and sectors that we serve. Whether it's loan origination, servicing, portfolio analysis. Has anyone seen this film about the 2008 collapse?
Big Short.
The Big Short, that's the film. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah.
What did you think of that film?
I think Jeff will be better at that. He's an expert
I haven't
on
seen
that.
it, but I've got my opinions.
Well, please see the film, right? Because it's a very untypical Hollywood film.
Yeah.
Because it, by and large, it's very accurate.
It explains the mirage of the real estate.
It's about what happens with mortgages.
Right, mortgages.
It's like, wow. It's not really how it's not you and I buying a mortgage. That's not the thing. It's
So
about
yeah,
I don't know if you know
In
these
the
things are
background.
bundled together, and then it's in layman's terms, it's
Yeah.
you're betting right against
Right.
various factors with other companies, and you're just passing these portfolios of lots of money around the world.
Right.
And it's quite an eye-opening film.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. Honestly, it's got what's it, Steve Carell, Christian Bale. It's a top film. I'm probably a few minutes over, aren't I? Now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, just, what's the typical interview process for
Yep.
new hires? And how
So we give you a verbal interview. We then do a pair programming assessment, looking for logical ability, empathy. We're actually just seeing how you think. Just practice. When you're doing pairing right now, just talk through what you're doing, right? If you're just both being really, really silent, that's probably not that great, right?
Are you doing both roles? Both roles, like.
Oh, you'll drive. You'll drive.
Okay.
We'll just watch, and we'll make suggestions. Sometimes we'll ask you what you're doing, or so we do that, and then if you get through those two stages, then we do a half-day immersion. So you come in and join a project, and that's for two reasons, right? That's for one, for us to obviously still to assess you and make sure that it's okay, but also for you to assess us, because there's a different way of working, and you might think this is good fun, but it's not for me, and that's okay. That's okay. It's all good.
When you
Yes.
say verbal, are you talking about a phone interview or
I've done it all. I've done Skype, face-to-face, telephone. Just, sometimes you can find out a lot of that, that first 30 minutes.
any tips?
Any tips on interviews? Yeah.
Well, not just interviews, but like the whole process.
I'll go generic first, right? Don't over elaborate, right? Don't over elaborate. Don't think the world's perfect. Don't say, "Oh, my IT's fantastic. I've never had a problem." Right? We tend to. I've seen it. I really have seen that. And you're like, that doesn't exist. You actually learn more. It's an old adage, right? You obviously don't want to make mistakes every day, but you do learn a lot when things go wrong, because if you think the world is perfect and you can do IT perfectly, I'll be like, wow, I'm a bit suspicious. The IT systems out there. Remember, so I worked at an airline. The underlying, actually it's still there today, right? The underlying reservation system for the entire world is on a big mainframe where you program in basic assembly language. That's my background. It's like the Matrix, right? So I could literally code just, has anyone done basic assembler? Yeah. So yeah, be frank, be very passionate, and I think you're good. Sounds too easy, right? But it's more about. Now we're getting philosophical. It's about being that little bit authentic, right? Like, this is my passion. This is what I want to do. This is what I do. I do computer science, but I also write my own code, and I've done this little product, and then what I was thinking about the product, and I had to think about what was the market I was after, how do I get client feedback, what's the value of it, how do I support it, where's the growth, what technologies have I used, why did I pick those? Just, that'd be appealing to me. Because we'll find out if you can code during the assessments, right? That's also been a real eye-opener for me. Strangely enough, in IT, we don't tend to actually see if you can actually write code sometimes, especially in big companies. Startups probably a bit different. But in big companies, it'll be like a verbal interview, you're in or out, right? Done. I've had guys with PhDs who can't code, in my view. That's probably a bit blunt. You're just like, wow, that's not that great. Which is, and I'm by the way, I'm not a great engineer. I'm not a great engineer. I've got guys who work for me who are great engineers. So for me to say that sometimes it's not a good sign. But no, be passionate, be very frank. And what I mean by frank is just like don't BS. That's what I'm really trying to get to. You can instantly hear it. Instantly. I've been in too many interviews. I'll give you an example. If I say to someone, hey, tell me some of the big challenges that you came through when you built this system, blah, 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 blah. And if they give a whiff of